Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, it's been a while since I've been able to say this. Week 1 is just around the corner. This is like I think I said at some point in this, it's like NFL football week 0.5. Games haven't quite started, but we're doing like the first proper one. Obviously, we had the pre-season last week. We're joined by special guest and host of other podcasts on the CookieCast network, the Getting Over podcast, Mr. Stuart Woodmansey, and me and my glamorous co-host, Mr. Paul Williams, muddle our way through another season of NFL football. Isn't that exciting? If you're checking us out on YouTube, please do subscribe, because it's a big help. And if you're just listening along, you can also subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. So here we go. This is CookieCast. Laces out.
Recording in progress.
You know it, lady. Hey, is that sexist? So.
That was definitely a lady's voice. Or a robotised.
A robot lady.
That's the word. Computerised. As a robotised isn't a word.
A robot lady. Not sure now. Anyway, let's put that to one side. Let's park that for now. Come back to it later. We're here because this is a very, very special time. Some would call it the calm before the storm. Some would call it the eye of the storm. Thread the needle. I think I've gone somewhere. I've gone a little awry somewhere. Anyway, let's not talk about that either. What it is it's week 0.5 of the NFL 2021-22 season. Or just 21. I don't know. A few audio listeners who are already tuning out because you're having to listen to me ramble on. I am here, and supporting me in what is clearly some kind of nervous breakdown is my glamorous co-host, Mr. Paul Williams.
Good evening / afternoon / day to you all.
And joining us, the host of the fastest growing podcast on the CookieCast network, all because he opened a box one time, Mr. Stuart Woodmansey. Hello, sir. How's the fame treating you these days?
Well, you know, not enough for me to stretch to a new jersey for the new season. Still got my last season's threads on, but you know, can we not talk about me opening boxes on the internet? Though it makes me feel a bit weird.
Weirder than having to get your door frames widened so you can.
Oh well. Yeah,
surely it can only be widened at the top.
Yeah, just the top. They just do this now.
That's where the boxes fit through, right?
You should see
we'll go with that.
You should see the demands he's been sending me. He's trying to get sent contracts that I need to sign. He wants points. Something about getting paid. I mean, you know, he'll be the first. It's done on a no-win, no-fee basis.
I mean, I didn't want to say anything, but yeah, if money's being thrown about left, right, and centre, then let's
Paul's hands straight in the kitty.
You know full well that no money will change hands. The only thing that I'm interested in is points. Just swap it for points.
I didn't know whether you were going to say the only thing I'm interested in is more unboxing.
Yeah,
stuff,
more
so
boxes.
You could, like a little order together
from Wrestle HQ.
Exactly.
Anyway, enough about the other podcasts we do. Darkest Timeline, Tuesday at 7. Let's talk NFL football. And when I say football, I don't mean the football podcast which airs on a Thursday at 7 p.m. either. What I do mean is NFL football Week 0.5. No games have actually kicked off, but they are kicking off this week. So we've done pre-season, off-season, if you like, all of that. That's done. We've moved on. What we're doing now is we're talking about, and I almost can't believe I'm going to say this, the first games of the season. I feel myself welling up at the prospect. Hearing that first time of the season when Red Zone kicks in and it's 7 uninterrupted hours, all of it, I just can't wait. So, no games mean no stats. So there's that, reprieve, I guess. But with games coming in this week, we've got actual predictions to do. But, correct me if I'm wrong, Paul, but don't we need to get some other kind of predictions? Oh,
it would certainly help.
We also get to talk fantasy and the reason why Stu is here. Who's your opponent this week and why aren't they here? Is it Tim?
I am taking on the juggernaut that is known as Mr. James Forrester Gray's team, whose name I can't remember.
His foosball is the devil, isn't he? Still, for
now. That's the one. He's stuck with the same name as last year. There's been very few name changes I've noticed in the league.
As a man who enjoys a podcast, I feel it's a little remiss of us to not get him amongst it.
We'll rectify it when he's next on.
Get him on next week.
Yeah, I was going to say he can either be on next week or he'll be on the week that he plays you, which could in fact be next week. But yes, so obviously in last week's season preview show, both myself and Andy gave up our picks for the Super Bowl matchup, Super Bowl winning team, Super Bowl MVP and regular season MVP. So, as a quick recap, not to let this sway you in any way, Stuart, but Andy had the Super Bowl pick of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Kansas City Chiefs, with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to win and Tom Brady to be the Super Bowl MVP.
Was that like for the year coming, or was that for like the year before?
I told him, I said,
thinking,
just cut, copy, paste last year, bang it in the book, and let's move on.
I know you're thinking, no, we haven't gone back in time. No, you're not listening to the 2020 season preview podcast, or the first week of the 2020 season podcast. It is the 2021 season. It is September of 2021. We are a couple of days away from the opening game. But Andrew he just sees it. He just sees the repeat happening. Whereas I've gone a little bit different. I've gone for the Green Bay Packers versus the Buffalo Bills, with the Packers to come out on top and Mr. Aaron Rodgers to be your Super Bowl MVP.
Okay.
So, Stu.
Well, it's also that time of year where you all get to laugh at me when I pick two teams that probably can't play each other. So this is Paul's favourite bit. Now, when I was looking, I did think about the Packers pick on the basis of it's the whole Aaron Rodgers last season and all that jazz. Yeah, but then there's also this thing about they've only won one Super Bowl with Favre and then with him, so I don't know. I feel like they'll just bottle it again if they get anywhere near. So I've been swayed away from them this year. Sorry, Packers fans, but I'm sure you'll be really bothered about what I think about that.
Podcast views just went down in Wisconsin, so
it is quite hard to sort of look away from the fact that the Bucs pretty much kept their team together, didn't they? So you might as well stick Buccaneers down for one of them.
Oh dear.
I know. Listen, you two can chunter all you like at me about that, but you chuntered at me enough after I picked Brady in the fantasy, so...
I'm not chuntering about it. You've picked the same as me.
and it wasn't a case of we were chuntering at you for picking him. It was a case of that anyone who picked him would have been given the abuse that they so rightly deserved.
So, I'm led to believe then, from my very limited knowledge, that means that I have to pick an AFC team now.
You certainly do.
See, so I'm going to kind of get this right. I'll just pick a completely wrong team.
That's correct. Stuart's picked the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to face the New York Jets. Yeah.
I mean, they've got absolutely no chance of getting there. I probably should pick a Chargers, but I'll pick the Chargers since I'm wearing the shirt, but I'm really not going to. So let's go with the Bills as well.
Oh, he's combined.
That's quite an interesting shout, to be fair, because I think the Bills were, they were on target a lot of the way through last season, and every year for the last 3 or 4 years, I'm like, do you know something? I really like the look of the Bills this year, and I admittedly, I would maybe put them a little bit in that Packers camp where I am absolutely convinced that no matter how many times they get to the playoffs, they're not going to the Super Bowl anytime soon. But they are a strong team. And let's face it, Bucks, Bills, Super Bowl, yes please. Yes. Yes please.
I think the thing with the Bills as well is if they do manage to get the number 1 seed, it's going to be playoff football in freezing temperatures, and nobody's going to want to go to Buffalo to play a playoff game. So
snow day Super Bowl, yes please.
So we'll see what happens.
But then I'm going to have to mention his name again now. So put it in the book. TB12 MVP again.
I'm assuming that means you're having the Bucks to win.
Yes.
I see. So no team's gone back to back since the Patriots in 03-04, and obviously we all know the quarterback was there.
So you're saying it's the first time ever in Bucks history, is it?
It would be. So there we go. Mr. Woodmansey's season-long picks in the bag. He has gone for a Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus Buffalo Bills Super Bowl with the Buccaneers to retain and Brady to retain the MVP. Which brings us swiftly on to the league MVP for the regular season pick. Now, as a reminder from last week, Mr. Cook has taken Aaron Rodgers from the Green Bay Packers to repeat. And I have gone for Josh Allen of the Buffalo Bills to pick up the first league MVP. Mr. Woodmansey, thoughts?
It's got to be another top side on it. It's probably got to be, therefore, another quarterback.
Not necessarily. I mean, because there was an outside talk that Derrick Henry could have got it last season, and the Titans didn't really do anything. I know they got in the playoffs, but that was about it.
My initial thought was, obviously, the curse of the Madden cover will now be over, and would we see a bit of a sort of a nice run of form for Lamar Jackson again? Because I do like watching him play as well, but I don't know. I'm going to come.
Is it me, or have they cheated the Madden curse this time round?
By putting two of them on it?
By putting two on the cover.
Who is on the Madden cover?
They just have half of it each. Isn't it Brady and Mahomes?
Yeah, it is.
Covering the bases, aren't they?
So on that basis, then I'll stick with Lamar Jackson because if they're both knackered, just in case, covers all the bases that way around.
Do you know something? I was just sitting here now before Stuart made his pick, and I was like, "Do you know something? I think I should have gone Lamar Jackson, season-long MVP." So there you go, a good pick.
I was going to look for him in the draft, and then missed out because I was trying not to go too early on the old quarterback business.
I suppose one thing that could work in his favour is that they've just lost their starting running back. J.K. Dobbins has just gone down for the season. So they're having to rely on a guy called Gus Edwards and whoever his backups are. So obviously if Lamar can get them, if he can get them first downs with his feet, then he's gonna. So that could play into your hands, I suppose. But who knows? So there we go. Lamar Jackson for a second season MVP. You heard it here first, lads and ladies.
So, Stu's season-long picks are in the book, and as we mentioned previously, that book will those season-long predictions will build week in, week out. The intention is to have the majority of our big old fantasy football team on the podcast as we do each season. Speaking of fantasy, do we go down that route now? Speaking of fantasy, we did do the big old fantasy draft on Sunday just gone. I rejoiced at how quick it was in years gone by. I think we're actually still doing the 2019 fantasy draft at the moment. In years gone by, it's been a little slow, to say the least. Went super quick this time around. Everybody got drafted up. I got an amazing team. Isn't that right, Paul?
If you say so.
And as mentioned previously, my opponent, I say opponent, there is a 20-point deficit between my team and Mr. Stuart Woodmansey's team. My opponent this week is Stu.
You say deficit, it's only in the predictions, so those deficit points mean diddly squat.
Points mean prizes, Stu, everybody knows that. It's week one. I feel everybody should get everybody should get a win week one, because, you know, everybody should get a participation trophy for week one. Golden stars all round. So, it is week one. Obviously, good luck to you, sir. Like I say, according to the projections, you've already won and the games haven't started, let's put it that way. Looking at my team earlier, just to give you a heads up, there may be a roster change before kick-off. I'm still looking at the fact that two of my starting lineup are questionable. If you compare,
you're a lucky devil. It's only two.
If you compare that to my other leagues lineup, I think I have two non-questionable players, and I really don't know what happened with my defense picks, because I don't think they actually qualify for points. That's how low those points are. So I'm not entirely sure what's come on there. I do think that they were projected higher before I picked them, which is weird. Other than that, I really don't have a huge amount of wiggle room on the bench. Basically, any position I've got on the bench is outscored in my lineup. So I'll be on the waiver wire on Tuesday. Stu, do you want to tell me any of your ideas so that I can maybe counter those ideas with,
I feel like I'm in a very similar position. With the one benefit is I've currently got nobody out or questionable, so I have got that. But yeah, my flex pick at the moment is not filling me with masses of confidence, but then that's probably why he's in that position. Again, only sat there at the moment because he's the highest projected, but you can guarantee that he'll score absolutely nothing, and then somebody on the bench that's currently predicted 3.4 points will score like 17 or something ridiculous. So we'll see. I don't know. I don't think I'm gonna mess around with it too much. I was quite happy with by my standards. I was quite happy with like the starting team that I ended up getting, but my bench just feels like an absolute dross fest.
In a 12-team league, I am not surprised.
I was talking to my friend Chris last night, who'd done he drafts through a different app, and they only have 6 teams. And I was like, "Oh, what's your team?" And he sent it through, and I was like, "Yeah, that won't happen in ours." He had a ridiculous amount of players where you're like, I think he ended up he did take a quarterback for the bench, but he ended up, let me just find it, because he got some ridiculous picks. So he got Mahomes as his starter. Also has McCaffrey. Also has Diggs. And then his backup quarterback is Justin Herbert, which would never have happened now. That had gone well before. So I think he's done quite well. So if you are listening to this, Chris, play in a league with more teams in, and then see how you fare.
Well, that's insane there. So he's got Mahomes, McCaffrey, and Diggs. So he's got potentially the number one player at quarterback, running back, and receiver there for the season. So you wouldn't be surprised if any of them 3 end up in the top spot at the end of the points. So
yeah, obviously none of us fared so well individually, because we shared the spoils amongst us.
Indeed, there might be some scope for some shenanigan trades.
Shenanigans.
Was James been in touch with you already, has he?
No, but I have noticed that in the league there's only been 2 people that have made roster changes already, and me and James are the 2. So
Solidarity.
So we'll see how we get on, but that's probably enough fantasy talk.
Enough of that fantasy rubbish.
So we'll dive back into the actual football. So as we said, the first game of the season kicks off this Thursday. Not to date the podcast at any point, but obviously it's quite a specific subject we're talking about. So the opening game, as has been the case for previous seasons, is the defending Super Bowl champions opening up at home. Before the game, obviously they'll do the presentation ceremony of their banner, their World Champions banner that'll be hung from the rafters of the stadium and things like that. So obviously we've got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers opening up at home against the rejuvenated Dak Prescott and his Dallas Cowboys. I think it's quite a decent opener. I don't think there's any question that the Bucs will win, but I think the Cowboys could give them a decent game. Dak's back. They've got 3 of the best receivers in the league, arguably. They've got a healthy, hungry running back. I reckon, the Cowboys aren't to be sniffed at. I think it could be a close game this one. I have got the Bucs to win, so.
I love that. Yeah, they're going to be great. Yeah, but they're going to lose. So.
Paul's a closet Cowboys fan. That's the issue. Anytime the Cowboys comes up,
there's absolutely no closet about it. I have no ill will towards the Cowboys.
Anytime the Cowboys comes up, you just see him slowly start heading down and like loosening up that jaw and just Cowboys. Tigers.
But the Cowboys are not my team, Andrew. You know
No?
full well they are not.
No? Where's your hat?
It's in the cupboard. And technically, it's not my hat. It's a hat that my friend gave to me as he had about 18, and I had none, and it was a very hot day.
I mean, I've got a few hats, but you're not having any of mine. I don't think I'm going to convert you to a San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, you'll
fan.
be you'll have a task because I ain't going to be putting that shit anywhere near my head. Anyway,
And obviously, we don't want to talk about the items that are in this corner of the room. Because that team doesn't exist anymore, technically. So, that's the first game of the week. You said you've got the Bucks down to win. No surprises who I've put down to win. Stu, are you as mental as other people when it comes to the Cowboys, or have you gone with the smart money?
No, Bucks all the way. That was when I looked at the fixtures and I thought I did think, oh, that's much better than the London games are this year at least. But it didn't take very long for me to pick the Bucks.
Shots fired.
I don't know if it does it qualify as shots fired when it's absolutely nailed on. I mean, what is it with the London games where they get announced and you're like, yay, London game! Oh.
What we're going to do is we're going to give you some games to try and improve the fan base in your country by giving you the shittest teams in the league to go and watch.
Admittedly, I can't complain. I have had the opportunity to see the Seahawks play live. Probably leave that there.
Well, we're at the point now, aren't we, where 31 out of the 32 teams have now played a game over here. The only team that hasn't played here yet is the Green Bay Packers. So they're the only team who need to come over. So I think they've said that they're trying to get them within the next sort of 2 to 3 seasons. I think they've said, and I don't think they're against coming over and stuff like that. The fact is that if they were going to come over, they'd have to come over as a road team because they're not willing to give up one of their home games because obviously they sell out every home game. So they're not willing to give up that. They're not willing to give up that revenue that they have. So you'd imagine that it'd have to be if it was in a season where they were playing a team like the Jags, where we know that they've got a guaranteed home game. But again, the teams when it obviously comes to divvying up and deciding the London or international series games, sometimes the teams will say, "Well, no, we don't want to take like." So say it was a strange about 10 years ago or so, but the Cowboys played the Jags over here, and everyone was a bit surprised because you would have thought that the Jags would probably want to keep a game like the Cowboys on their home schedule because it's probably more likely to bring more fans into the stadium with it being a bigger team. So that's kind of why we keep getting the sort of the dross that keeps coming over because it's the games that no one cares about at the home stadium and stuff like that. So what is it? Is it Falcons Jets? Is that one of them?
Anytime you mention the Jets, it's like immediately switched off.
So who knows? You never know. Like, it might get to a point where we get a big sort of divisional matchup again and stuff like that. But I'm not going to be holding out any hope. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Moving swiftly on. So obviously we've all put our pick in as the Bucks for the opening game of the season, and then obviously we jump to the Sunday 6 p.m. slot. Lots of games in this in that opening slot. Obviously every team is playing as it's the opening weekend. I'll just go through some of the 50-50 shots. So, Jacksonville Jaguars at the Houston Texans. We seem to have 50-50 split that because Matt Moore from other podcasting fame such as Getting Over and the Football Podcast and
Pursuit of Happiness.
Pursuit of Happiness has also supplied some predictions for this week. So both myself and Matt have backed the Jags to pick up a win, whereas Andy and Stu have obviously suffered some sort of head trauma as they've picked the Tyrod Taylor-led Houston Texans to beat the Jags. Let's see. You never know. You boys could be onto something. We then have unanimous picks in the Los Angeles Chargers at the Washington football team. The Seattle Seahawks at the Indianapolis Colts, and the Carolina Panthers at home to the New York Jets. We've then got another 50-50 split in the Vikings at the Bengals. Both myself and Andy have picked the Bengals to pick up a win there, whereas Stu and Matt are all over the anti-vaxxer himself, good old Kirk. Any particular reason why, Mr. Woodmansey?
No, just historically, a team that almost became known as the Bungles, specifically through this podcast at one point in time. I was just like, it's opening weekend. Plus, as well, one thing that did sway me is that I noticed that a certain opponent of mine this week has a Mr. Thielen in his side, so no doubt they'll be smashing in plenty of points against my team. So.
We'll wait and see, I suppose. Another 50-50 shot we've got, a split, is the Arizona Cardinals travelling to Tennessee to take on the Titans. Andy and Stu have picked the Titans to get the dub this one, whereas myself and Matt have both gone with the Cardinals. I reckon the Cardinals could be a sneaky outside bet for a deep playoff run this season. They've recruited well with their free agency pickups, and I reckon they've definitely strengthened on defence. So, looking good.
Yeah, I don't think that's too bad a shout. I mean, the Cardinals have been sort of circling that kind of area for a while now.
Like, as is always the case, so I had this conversation with a friend of mine the other day who's a Broncos fan. And I said the problem for a team like the Cardinals and a team like the Broncos is they're in such a strong division. Mm. So the Broncos, the Chargers, and the Raiders are going to have the problem that they're basically playing for second place at best, because no team in that division is going to overtake the Chiefs for the next 10 years, arguably. So if Mahomes continues at the level he's on, they're only ever going to be finishing second in the division, which means they can't get a home playoff game. So they're always going to be up against it on the road in the playoffs. So, and I think that's the same for the Cardinals. You'd argue that the 49ers, the Seahawks, and the Rams are arguably stronger teams than them. So it's just whether or not they can actually put it together and get above one of those three teams to win the division. But we'll see. Speaking of the 49ers, we've got another unanimous slot. We've got 4 in a row, actually, on the unanimous picks. So we've all gone for the 49ers to beat the Lions in Detroit, the Bills to take care of business against the Steelers at home, the Falcons to do the same against the Eagles in Atlanta. Sadly, we've all gone for the Chiefs to kind of stick one on the Browns, which is sad times. But I'll have to double check, because are the Chiefs at home? I'm pretty sure the Chiefs are at home.
Chiefs are at home, yeah. I thought that would probably be quite a decent game. That
should be a great game.
It's going to be a good game.
Should be a great game, but you'd have to be a bit of a fool to be backing the Chiefs. Well, backing against the Chiefs in any game this season, let alone ones where they're at home. So, yeah, we'll be very surprised if the Chiefs lose that one. We've also all gone for the Packers to take care of business against the Saints, but in Jacksonville. Now, I made a note of this one because, obviously, with everything that's going on with Hurricane Ida at the moment, New Orleans has I don't know if it's had like a state of emergency declared or something
Yeah,
like that, but they've had to move the team away from New Orleans for the last couple of weeks. So I think they've done some training at Dallas, and I imagine they're already over in Jacksonville currently preparing for the game on Sunday. Obviously, massive changes for the Saints this offseason because they've lost arguably the greatest quarterback in the game, in Drew Brees. So they're making the shift to Jameis Winston has been named as the starter. Tough ask from opening up against the Green Bay Packers. So yeah, no surprises there. We've all picked the Packers to get the win there. The next one on the list, where there's a bit of a difference in opinion, is the Denver Broncos at the New York Giants. Now, 3 of us have picked the Broncos for the win in this one, whereas Andy obviously sees something in Big Blue this season. Do you know where to talk us through that pick, Andy? Or is it just that you just don't think the Broncos are very good?
I like being a closet Cowboys fan. I am a closet Broncos fan. I was a Broncos fan for many
Don't
years.
closet about it. You are a Broncos fan.
Yeah, I love the Broncos. But since their last Super Bowl, they have not been a good team, and year in year out they weirdly seem to get worse. They seem to get further and further away from being good. And I think it's unfortunate because the Broncos have a lot going for them. You know, Mile High Stadium accounts for a lot. You know, there's a lot around them winning home games left, right, and centre. And it's just a shame that they can't utilise the things that they have going for them. There's often that thing that the Broncos often have a solid defence, but just nothing else often. When I looked at that pick, it was very much the smart money says put the Broncos down, but then at the same time I was like, I don't know if I can. So I threw caution to the wind and put the Giants down. Just, mixing it up this season. Having a shit fantasy team.
Is what you were saying.
Well, it's not like it works for me in other podcasts.
I like the way that you pick that blind without knowing anybody else's prediction, but you still manage to play for points on it. Though.
Some would say I'm known for it.
Definitely. So there's 3 games remaining in the slot for this weekend. So the last game on Sunday in the regular 2 time slots is the Dolphins travelling to New England to take on the Patriots. This is another 50-50 split. Both myself and Andy have picked the Dolphins to get the win, whereas Stu and Matt have gone for the Big Mac, I suppose, if we're going with that sort of storyline, to beef up the attack for.
Do you want to know? I'm going to give you a little prediction, a season-long prediction for you right here, right now. If you thought the Patriots were bad last season, strap yourselves in, boys and girls. I think they are going to be woeful this season.
Nah, disagree wholeheartedly with that. They've done a lot of transactions in the off season. They've made that offense a lot better than it was. They've given well, at the time it seemed like they'd given Cam Newton some extra weapons and stuff like that. Whereas obviously now they've given the keys to the castle over to Mac Jones. So we'll see what happens. I don't think the Patriots will be as bad as they were last season.
Still waiting on the news of where Cam's gone to. Have I missed that one?
As of yet, I believe he's still unsigned.
Really?
But he'll get picked up by somebody.
What, like a vaccination centre or something?
That's not going to happen, is it?
Well, that seems unlikely, but
I think it might convert him. But then you say about they've done all these transactions and stuff, but by how recently they cut him, surely there was a point where they were building the team with him in mind, and then have gone, what now? So like, I don't know. I'm on the fence with that. I still think they'll win at the weekend, but I think they'll be at least as bad as they were last time.
The Bills will win the division anyway, so it don't really matter. Because the Bills...
Yeah, Super Bowl, isn't it?
Well, the Bills are the Bills, and they're the bomb, if you will. So, okay, that takes care of all the games in the regular sort of 6 and 9 p.m. slots. So that moves us to Sunday Night Football, which is the Chicago Bears travelling to LA to take on the Rams. Surprisingly enough, we've all gone for a clean sweep on the Rams on that one. Obviously, not feeling the old red rifle to pull out the W for his latest new team. Poor old Andy Dalton. He's only going to get like 2 games, and then Justin Fields is going to come in and just make him look like he's a bitch. So that's going to be fun. And last but not least, we have the Monday Night Football game, which I believe has been put in this slot because it is the first game in Las Vegas with fans in attendance. So we have the Baltimore Ravens travelling to the desert to take on the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, I think you boys are all a bit crazy here because I think there's a lot to be said for home field advantage. And you've all gone for the Ravens, you silly, silly boys, and I have gone for the home field Raiders. So, explain yourselves. What are you doing? What's the matter with you? Give your heads a shake, etc., etc.
Why do we?
That one.
I mean, somebody who picks the Raiders over the Ravens might need some medical help.
What? Because it's an incredibly inspired pick.
Yeah, inspired by, the voices in your head. All 6 of them that are arguing over an insane choice.
Listen, don't you worry about it, Andrew. When you just you wait till the wee hours of Tuesday morning when Josh Jacobs is dancing in for his 7th touchdown of the game and he's tossing the ball into the black hole, giving it all this, pulling out his inner Rob Van Dam, loving life. It'll be incredible.
Okay.
You wait.
Okay, well, in that case, I'm going to say there's going to be a 30-point difference in that game. I'm going Ravens 40, Raiders 10.
It's going in the book.
Hang on, Raiders 10?
Yeah.
No. Andrew, each touchdown is worth 6 points. So if Josh Jacobs is going in at least 7 times, come on, you know how to do maths.
No, I don't.
You silly boy.
You've seen me do math.
He said about the 3 of us explaining the picks. Obviously, Matt's not here to talk for his own pick of the Ravens, but we clearly know that it's because Mac Andrews plays for them. So.
He was saying at the weekend.
Some sort of fear of that name. So
he was saying at the weekend how sad he was to miss out on Mark Andrews for his fantasy team because it's his favourite.
And he wasn't even talking. And he wasn't even talking about the NFL fantasy. He was talking about his wrestling fantasy draft team. So that, ladies and gentlemen, brings us to the end of the predictions section of the podcast.
And as any long-time listener will know, that basically brings us to the end of the podcast. Normally, I'd asked if there was any other business. Is there any other business? I was gonna brush it under the carpet. There, I was just gonna be like, no, I can't imagine there is any. But that would be rude of me. So I'm taking from the shaking heads that the audio listeners can't see that there is actually any other business. All that's left for me to do is say good luck to you, Stu. Oh, that rhymes. For our first matchup of the season. Good luck to James.
You filthy tramp.
And to you, Paul. May the best Man. Thank you both for coming on here with me and doing the dance that we like to do for 4 months of the year. Look at him dancing there. Speaking of dancing, tune into the YouTube channel for the next many weeks to watch us dancing around our picks. Right, gentlemen, thank you very much, and I'll see at least one of you next week. Bye-bye for now. So there you go, what do you think to that? Week 1 is so close, you can basically smell it now. Big thanks to Stu for joining me and Paul, and big thanks to you for listening along. Bigger thanks if you're one of our lovely subscribers. High five to you. And to get one of those lovely high fives, just click that subscribe button wherever you get in this podcast, and you can redeem your high five. You can also jump over to thecookiecast.com. We've got a load of links over there, social media, email, and just a general bit about us. And you can drop us a line. That's it for this time. Until next time, I'm going to say bye, and I'll see you then.